Shalom. We are learning Yeshayahu Perek Daled. Once again, we have the problem that Perek Daled is not a distinct nevuah. It is literally a continuation of Perek Gimel, but because we conventionally use Prakim, so I had to break it up. If you remember, the end of Perek Gimel was a long description, literally a fashion catalog of the jewelry and the clothing and the bedspreads and the tablecloths and the scarves that women were wearing to be sexually alluring and to be promiscuous. And it was said that Hashem is going to take away their beauty, take away their adornments, take away their jewelry. And cities will be decimated and there'll be no men. The men will be killed and the women will be now almanos and left alone. And Pasuk Dalet is directly continuing that. V'chziku sheva noshim b'yishachat. There will be such a diminution and a decimation of the male population who will die in war that 7 women will grab onto a man on that day, whenever that happens. Lamor. Lachmeinu neichal. Simlaseinu nilbash. You don't have to support us. Don't give us bread. We'll eat our own bread. We'll earn our own money. We'll wear our own clothes. Don't give us a thing. This is the desperation. Rak yikare shimcha aleinu. Marry us so we'll have your name. We'll be respectable. We'll be married. Esaif cherpaseinu. Take away our shame. Take away our humiliation. That's how desperate the women will be. These women who were balei gaiva. They had marriages and they had families. And they had the gaiva to be promiscuous and do whatever they wanted because they knew that their husbands wouldn't do anything. That's what it meant when it said the wives were ruling. Again, it wasn't a condemnation of a woman's eitzah. It was a condemnation that the immorality of these women were setting the tone of the bias. But once again, the Navi Yeshayahu reverts to Simcha, to Nechama. Bayaymahu, meaning there will come a day. Yiyat Semach Hashem. There will be a growth of Hashem. Hashem will grow something good. Litzvi, for glory. Ulachavod, for honor. Pri ha'aretz, the fruit of the land, both referring to the physical productivity of the land. And Rashi says there'll be children that tzaddikim will raise, will be l'ga'ain, will be for glory, l'tiferes, and for beauty, for the pleitas Yisrael, for the remnant of the Yidden that remain faithful to Hashem. V'haya hanishar b'tzion v'neisher b'Yerushalayim. And those who remain from Tzion, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, and those who remain in Yerushalayim, who remain faithful to Hashem, Kadosh Yamar Lo, it will be said about them that they are Kadosh. Kol HaKosov L'Chaim b'Yerushalayim, and they will be inscribed for life in Yerushalayim. That those who do tshuva will be Zeicha to the Chaim, and again Rashi says, the Chaim of Eilam Haba. Imrachatz Hashem eis tzayas b'nai Sion, v'yestemei Yerushalayim yadiach b'kirba. That there will be a time that God will wash away the filth of these arrogant daughters of Sion, and the blood of Yerushalayim, of the Yidden that were shofech tamim. B'ruach mishpat, he will bring a spirit of judgment. This is Yisurin. Uvaruach ba'er, and with that spirit he will destroy this rishus. There will come a renewal after that. Ubara Hashem al kol machayin hartziyin v'al mikreha anan yaimam v'yashan v'naiga eish lahava laila ki al kol kavod chupa. That what is being described here is similar to Yetzias Mitzrayim, when we had clouds of glory and a fiery pillar of Amud Ha'esh at night. Hashem will create on all of Har Tzion, which is really Yerushalayim, a cloud of His Shekhinah during the day, and the brightness of fire at night. Al kol kavod, and all of the honor he will bring to Klal Yisrael will be a chuppah, a protective covering. And it describes that as a sukkah. V'sukkah tiel l'tseil yaimam. The sukkah will be a shade in the day, mechayrev, from the heat of the sun, ulamachse ulamistor mizera umimatar, and it will be a shelter from the wind and from the rain. Again, all of this has metaphorical meanings as well. It does describe the Geula as a sukkah, and the sukkah will protect us from the sun, and the sukkah to some degree will protect us from the rain. And this is a remez to the shemira that Hashem has to Klal Yisrael, and the giloi, the revelation of the Shekhinah that we will experience. Rav Hirsch points out that the difference between a sukkah and a bias is a bias blocks out looking up at Shemayim. I look at my ceiling, I only see a ceiling. But when I look up at my sukkah, I see the Kechavim. I'm aware of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Shemayim. And that is why the Shemira that Hashem gives us, Yemos HaMashiach, is compared to a sukkah. David HaMelech's Malchus is called a sukkah. We say during Sukkos, Harachaman, Hu Yakim Lanu. He should reestablish for us Sukkas David Hanefalas, the fallen sukkah of David. Sukkah represents vulnerability. Sukkah represents hisbatlas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lehebich, a gag, represents shutting out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, Rav Hirsch even has Ol Arichas that Gog uMagog, the great enemies that fight us before Mashiach comes, are called Gog, Lashon Gag. They create a bias that blocks out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We create a sukkah, and we see this from a number of places, but this is one of the places. Hashem says, I will give you a sukkah that will protect you, but in that sukkah you will always be makir HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that is the end of Perek Dalet. Kol Tov.